Hi, I'm Hamish Black, and welcome to Writing on Games. So, I've been playing a lot of Persona 5 lately, and of course, I'm adoring the hell out of it. One thing has become especially apparent to me though. I just can't help but love one of the game's first objectives, proudly displayed as you take control of your protagonist: live an honest student life. Now, at first it might just seem like a wry take on objective design. There's nothing concrete about this, nowhere to go. It's too conceptual to be a traditional objective. What I love about it though, is that as I play through the game, it has become far less abstract. Living what I believe to be an honest expression of student life has become the driving challenge of the game. It takes on something of a destroy Ganon approach, where everything you do is in service of that one objective. Through things as granular as stats and how rewards are handed out, Persona 5 shifts your expectations as to where the danger lies. It takes your focus away from the metaverse and makes real life, with all of the turbulence of carving your own identity under suppressive social institutions, the far more perilous endeavour. See, Persona 5 is a game in which you and a bunch of other teens with chewed and a goddamn annoying cat enter people's cognitions in order to perform elaborate heists to steal their innermost desires, which in turn will completely alter the way that person views the world, causing ripples that affect almost everyone you come across. It's also a game in which you can't talk to a girl or eat a big burger if you don't have enough guts. This is where I started to realise just how deeply things like stats are telling the game's story. That living your life as a student and building yourself up in the real world, whilst somewhat more mundane, is infinitely more compelling than altering things in the metaverse, and in my eyes, deliberately so. For example, I remember playing Persona 4 and thinking, especially towards the end, man, for a game so focused on grinding and improving the stats of your characters, it's sure hard to know where I stand with these social links. The same is true of the confidants in 5. Whereas in dungeons, each battle ends with a detailed breakdown of exactly how much XP and gold you won, your interactions out with the metaverse, where the heists take place, never foreground the stat rewards you receive. There's a lot of vague talk of, I don't know if this interaction will actually do anything, or we're gonna get closer soon, but you never see the numbers attached to that. And there are numbers at work here, you're still building those stats, you just never really get a good feel for what those stats actually are. Then you begin to analyse why the stats might be presented in such a way, and things begin to make a bit more sense. The metaverse is where you feel you're most powerful, where you make a name for yourself fighting mighty creatures. It's also explicitly a numbers game. Go into the palace at any point within the time limit, and if you're finding things difficult, maybe grind for a bit until the numbers are more to your liking. Like the dreamy environments you somnambulate through, the characters are idealistically crafting and controlling their own identities. After a while in these palaces, you go into autopilot. You enter a fight, you hit the weakness button, hold them up and perform an all-out attack. Don't get me wrong, thanks to snappy combat and an art style that is all the better precisely because it shouldn't be this pleasing or even legible, it's still incredibly fun. It's just that after a while, killing monsters becomes just as much of a routine as going to school every day. In fact, what ends up happening is that the real world starts to become more treacherous and tense. Not only are your activities coming under more intense scrutiny the more you raise your profile, but you also can't directly control the outcome of any scenario here. You pull off an immensely intricate heist essentially within someone's head, and yet initially there's always a sense of trepidation as to whether or not it's worked. Even aside from that though, in between all the cardboard cutouts and faceless ghosts you phase through, feeling like remnants of individuals, their souls handed over to the grind of adult life, lie some truly despicable characters abusing their positions of power and trust, threatening anyone who would take a stand against the way things are. The real world is a terrifying, often random place, and the game wants you to know it. And so you frantically spend your time in the real world trying to fit in as much as you can while you still can, because hey, you don't know what's going to crop up next. You manage your personal relationships, your schoolwork, your stats as an individual, all of which are often disparate from each other and offer tough choices as to which you're going to neglect. All of this on top of a time limit. Watching that calendar tick through often fills me with more dread when I'm not on a mission than when I am. I know I can beat that palace in the time limit specified. The game's story is designed as such to allow the numbers to line up that way. When I'm given the choice of having to pick one thing to do in real life at the expense of everything else, knowing it'll cost me a day and not being sure if it'll get me anywhere, that's a borderline existential crisis in a video game. That's tough. But in much the same way as the nature of challenge is reversed between worlds, so too is the reward for those challenges. Getting a predictable XP reward for metaverse battles ends up giving way to moments of subtle triumph in the real world, as, for example, you get a seat on a train to read a book. Either that or that message pops up saying, "I think my relationship with this character will deepen soon," alerting you that you're going to be able to dig further into the personalities of those around you. The nature of these rewards may seem random at times because the game doesn't foreground the numbers controlling them, but it doesn't stop these instances from feeling incredibly satisfactory. That's because reading a book on that train seat builds a certain stat that in turn might allow you to pursue that other thing you wanted to do with that other confidant, which itself will give you a deeper understanding of the story as well as new abilities for battle, for example. All these systems and mechanics are interconnected in a way that makes them feel as, if not more vital as grinding in the metaverse. When they drop rewards may seem a bit random, but hey, so is real life. It's what makes navigating life so tense because you have no idea what's going to happen, no matter how hard you try to control it. It also makes things like talking to that girl or finishing that big burger feel all the sweeter since you did it in the face of such overwhelming sociological adversity. This is arguably the key thematic thrust of Persona 5, and the fact that the game can convey the importance of the little victories in life through things as granular as the way it handles stats marks it as a real achievement in the way RPGs tell their stories. So I hope you enjoyed my piece on Persona 5. If you did, why not tell a friend about it? Hit subscribe, hit the little bell thing, and check out the podcast in the description. If you want to go the extra mile, however, I'd be immensely grateful if you checked out the Patreon, like these lovely folks currently on screen. Your support allows me to keep this channel going, and I can never thank you enough for that. Plus, hey, there are some goodies there like episode music and early access to videos if you're so inclined. Special thanks go to Thomas Coker, Nicholas Ross, Charlie Yang, Justin's Holderness, Nico Blakely, James Doring, Biggie Smith, Mark B. Writing, Christian Kuhneman, Artyom Vitsyuk, and Peter. And with that, I'm Hamish Black, and this has been Writing on Games. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.